featuring the creator and lead host of Clutch Crew Sports, Zach.
Unfortunately, Eric is an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, and he went through a pretty rough postseason watching my Portland Trailblazers pretty well dismantle his team. So,
dang, okay, I did not realize we were going to go into that.
You sure you didn't lose your train of thought by looking at this picture here?
For those of you who don't know, Zach really likes Alex Morgan.
Also featuring Eric. I'm a co-host. I specialize in NFL and NBA. If a topic upsets me enough, I'm going to rant about it. So if Cincinnati, wants to turn this around, they've got a few pieces that they can start with, and then try to rebuild and get some more draft picks and get some younger talent in there and start it now. Just to face it now that you're going to suck and try to fix it for the future. For people that want to say Steph is an all-time great or one of the greatest players, or even maybe the greatest player of all time, how can you really say that, though, if he would have 4 championships and not have been the finals MVP in any of them?
Also featuring Connor, the number 1 co-host, and I'm going to lock that. I'm back, baby! If you're not going to do it, I'll double lock Middleton, because everything I've read has been that he's the number 1 priority for the Bucks. Like, in their minds, they could forget Brogdon and Lopez. They need to get Middleton back.
I'm locking this one because I've got on my survival pick.
Okay. I need to write this down on a piece of paper.
Yep,
Zach is locking Denver beating Chicago.
Welcome back to another episode, guys. Today is our Miscellaneous Topics episode. We've got a couple different topics here for you guys. Our first topic of the day is going to be talking about college football quarterbacks and specifically the pro prospects. So that will be led by me. I'll take up about 20 minutes at time talking about that. Connor is going to be talking about quarterback contracts and some really overpaid quarterbacks. And then we've got Eric here to talk about triple doubles. How important are they? And I'm honestly curious to see where he goes with this, as I don't really know where it'll go. But we do want to give you guys a Subvember count. So as of right now, Eric is still in first place with 19. I'm in second place now with 8. Nate is in third with 3, and Connor still in last with 0. But he might be going to his college campus and bribing students with candy.
Candy and brisket
Listen,
and sweet
Connor.
potato hash.
Listen, Connor, exams and papers are no excuse.
I could bribe people like that. I could be like, hey, I'll write like a quarter of your essay if you subscribe to YouTube.
Hopefully Academic Affairs doesn't hear this.
This is all allegedly.
Yeah.
It hasn't actually happened yet.
Yeah. So, but Eric, he's been every day adding a couple to that list. And I always, it's a double-edged sword for me because, like, you see the subscription totals go up, you're like, sweet. But then, it's Eric bringing in all these subscribers. He's winning right now. But things have been going really good lately. Like, we've been getting a lot more attention from this. People in Germany listening to us now. Shout out to the Germans who were listening to our episode a while back. We've been interacting on Twitter a lot. My boy Aaron Swarm, he's been really fun to chat with on Twitter. Me and him have talked quite a bit, and he actually inspired me to come up with this topic here because he's a big Justin Herbert fan. You'll hear my take on Herbert as well as the other quarterbacks. So shout out to him. He's got a podcast too. We'll be promoting his stuff as well. Any of you guys have some good good interactions with other podcasting groups lately?
I mean, I don't know if you want to be talking to me.
This is mainly directed to Eric.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a group on Twitter called Sports Podcasting Network, and ever since I followed them, they subscribed to us right away, and they retweeted us when I promoted our NCAA football recap episode. They retweeted it, and also I've had a few more Coffee with Friends podcasts. I shout out to you, Millennial Sports Talk, and Official Rory. I appreciate all you guys as well. There have been a few others as well. And of course, our boy Jackson, who found us on Twitch. He's at Mobile Kid God on Twitter. You can follow him. He interacts with us a lot as well. So it's been, whether I get to roast you guys or whether I get roasted at the end, this November thing has been really fun so far this month because we've met a lot of new people. We've got some new fans, which is really cool. And not only that, we've also found other podcasts that we've been enjoying listening to as well. And so we'll definitely, like Zach said with Aaron, we got a few others too. We'll be happily promoting them. So I've been having a lot of fun doing this, and hopefully I don't want to get roasted.
Yeah. I forgot to mention Aaron's podcast is called Something Like a Podcast. I guess because they don't just focus on sports, they talk about all kinds of different topics. So that's the name of his podcast. You can find it on YouTube, iTunes. I'm pretty sure he's got the anchor set up like us, so it goes out to basically everywhere. But check him out. He's pretty good. I like his stuff. But let's get started here with our featured episode. So my topic, like I said, is going to be about college quarterbacks, and I really wanted to focus on, I think, the four biggest names coming into this upcoming draft, being Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jake Fromm, and Tua Tagovailoa. So you see their stats up here. These are current stats from this season, and their yard stats, touchdown interception ratio, and completion percentage. And Burrow really leads in all of these categories: most touchdowns, highest completion percentage, most yards by a lot. I think it's his Heisman to lose at this point, especially after that big win against Bama. So certainly he's been getting a lot of attention, but also you had Herbert, who was coming into this year, or actually last year, he could have been a top draft pick as well. He decided to stay at Oregon. And it's interesting now he's got, I think, more competition with Burrow and Tua in this year's draft than he might have with Kyler, and really nobody ended up taking Haskins that early like we thought they would. But
looking at you, Giants.
Yep. They went with Jones, who nobody really saw coming. And then Jake Fromm here from Georgia. I'll be talking about him as well. And, of course, Tua, tank for Tua. That's been the Dolphins slogan for, 2 years now. Ever since he won the national championship, I feel like tank for Tua has been a Dolphins thing. But you see their stats here, and I talked about Burrow having the highest. Fromm, out of these four, has definitely got the lowest in each category. He's got less than 2,000 yards, lowest touchdowns, and lowest completion percentage. But to be fair, Georgia's offense is, out of all of these teams, much more run heavy of an offense. So that's why his numbers aren't as big. But I'll be talking about my thoughts on all these quarterbacks coming up here in these next slides. So I really don't think stats are everything, especially when it comes to evaluating talent, because there's so many different variables that go into the stats. So I'm going to talk about my eye test, and I haven't really watched many Oregon games. I'm mainly an SEC guy, so I see Fromm a lot, I see Burrow a lot, and Tua. Those three I know a lot more about. So I feel like Aaron definitely has more knowledge about Herbert since he's been a big fan of his. But if I want to rank these quarterbacks, going back to this last slide here, what I think that I think their NFL careers will be from 1 to 4. I'm going to put Burrow at 1, Herbert at 2, Tua at 3, and Fromm at 4. And I'll start with Herbert here. So basically, Herbert, he's a mobile guy, but he's also got a big arm and can really sling the ball. To me, my only real issue with Herbert is that I haven't seen as much of a progression as I have from his season last year to this year. He hasn't gotten worse or anything, but he's just not progressing at a higher rate than you would have thought for staying an extra year at college. I still think he's going to end up being a really good quarterback, and if I had to make a comparison to him right now in the NFL, which I normally don't make comparisons or anything, but I think he's a Matthew Stafford type of a quarterback. I don't think he's going to be winning MVPs or being the reason his team makes it deep in the playoffs or anything, but I think he's serviceable. He's going to be a franchise quarterback for a long time. I'm high on him. I think also out of all of these quarterbacks, he's the safest pick. I think whatever team picks Herbert is going to be knowing what they're going to be getting, and I think he's a low-risk pick, but I don't think he's got as high of an upside as some of the other quarterbacks. So Herbert's going to be your safe pick. Coming out of Oregon, it's a high-powered offense there, air raid, West Coast, but still, I do like him. He's going to be better than Mariota was, I'll tell you that. So I guess, Aaron, I don't really think he's going to be as good as you think he will be, but I still think he's safe. He's going to be good and really just a solid pick for whatever team gets him. Also, I think he's a quarterback that can start right away. So I think if he's forced to start week 1 for an NFL team, I don't think it'll be too much for him. I think he'll be fine. I think he's the most pro-ready right now. And then Jake Fromm here is the second quarterback I'm going to be talking about. He's on the right with the Georgia uniform on. Fromm, to me, is kind of the opposite here, and I've got him ranked 4th out of these quarterbacks, and I don't think he's going to have a good career. I think because quarterbacks are in such high demand, he's probably going to go in the late first round, but Fromm I see as being a potential bust. He's not progressing at all. Whereas I said Herbert is kind of staying steady, slightly progressing. Fromm has actually regressed this year. That South Carolina game I watched was really ugly, and South Carolina is not a good team. So that game right there showed you the downside of Fromm. And Georgia does not really win because of Fromm. They run because of their rushing attack and their defense. Fromm is just kind of there to make the throws when they need them to be thrown. But if you look back at the stats here, the completion percentage isn't great. The yards aren't great. Touchdown interceptions aren't great. He's regressed. A lot of people hyped him up coming into the season. But to me, he's regressed. He's a big quarterback. He's built really big, but I don't see him being that well. I think he's going to be a bust to whatever team takes him. And then we've got Burrow and Tua on this page. So obviously their teams faced off head-to-head this last weekend. Burrow coming out on top. And a lot of people are surprised about Burrow. However, I'm not, because I saw Burrow last year and I saw flashes of brilliance, and I'm not surprised at all that he's having this type of a season. Even earlier in this college football season, when Burrow was putting up big stats and everything, people weren't sure if it was going to be sustainable, but I was one of the people that thought that this was going to be sustainable, and I thought from the beginning that Burrow was going to be a legit Heisman candidate, and he's proven that so far. And so comparing to Herbert and Fromm, Burrow has definitely progressed the most. I mean, he went from being a relatively small name quarterback. I mean, I'm not going to say small name, but he was definitely not thought of as a first-round pick, whereas now he's almost a lock to go in the top 5. That's how big of a jump he's taken this season, and he's completely changed this LSU offense. I mean, LSU used to be a defense team, a running team, all those great running backs coming from LSU, all the great defenders. The quarterback that was there usually was never better than an average quarterback. Think of Zach Mettenberger a couple of years ago. So whereas Joe Burrow has reinvented this offense in such a brilliant way, I just love that about him, because he's taken a team that was not known for being an offensive powerhouse to now being the best offense in college football. He's a pocket passer. He's big. He's mobile, though. He got basketball scholarships from big-time schools. So he's athletic. He can take hits. He can move around. But still, I've been impressed with Burrow since last year, and this year has just made me more impressed with him. So he's my number 1 quarterback. However, I would still say that there is a potential for him not to do well, but assuming he's definitely got the biggest upside to me. I think out of this class, Burrow could be the best quarterback we've seen in a long time. Not just this class, but last year's class, the class before that. Burrow, to whatever team he goes to, I think Cincinnati would be really fitting since he came from Ohio State, if he goes back to Ohio. But whatever team he goes to, I think is going to be maybe not instantly better, but in a couple years, assuming that they get some more talent on whatever bad team he goes to, he's going to be able to take that team far, I think. So he's got, teammates love him. He's charismatic. He might not be what he might not look like it, but I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. And then we got Tua over here on the right. Tua's interesting because I think Tua, out of all these quarterbacks, is going to be the hardest to evaluate because he plays on such a good team. I mean, he's throwing to basically 3 first-round wide receivers on his team. He's got great offensive linemen on his team. So obviously we see this with Kyler Murray at Oklahoma last year. Great offensive Oklahoma team. They had the best offensive line in college football. They had Marquise Brown. They had CeeDee Lamb on that team for wide receivers. And now he goes to Arizona, which has one of the worst offensive lines, pretty poor receiving group, and he's been doing pretty well with what's there. So I think Kyler's going to end up being a good quarterback. But with Tua, similar to Kyler, I just don't think we know what we got in him. He's played in big games before, and he's had mixed results because obviously he came in for relief in that Georgia national championship and won it. But then at the same time, he got blown out by Clemson last year. His team did. So he's got mixed results in the big games. He definitely has that experience, though, which I do like. But still, it's just hard to evaluate him. He could end up being really good, but I just don't know. To me, whereas Burrow, I think, is working with a little bit less. He's still got great receivers, but with Tua, it's almost like anybody could be. I mean, Mac Jones put up a ton of points against Arkansas. I know it's Arkansas, but still, with that Alabama offense, I feel like any quarterback could really succeed in it. But I'm not going to take that away from Tua. I think he's going to be really good. He's more unpredictable to me. Burrow's unpredictable, but I just feel more strongly in Burrow than I do in Tua. So my rankings from these 4 are going to be Burrow at 1, Herbert at 2, Tua at 3, and then Fromm at 4. I'm curious, I guess Connor will ask this too, since he's mainly the other college follower. Do you agree with my list, or is there something you'd like to change?
I mean, it seems fairly okay to me. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Justin Herbert, unfortunately, I can't evaluate him very well. Not nearly as much as I've seen the other three quarterbacks. I mean, yeah, I agree that Tua is going to be unpredictable. I mean, all those people that we're talking about, like you said, tank for Tua, I don't think that's going to work out. I think Tua is going to have a tough time in the NFL. He's going to come in as another one of those, college, if I'm going off of, past, precedent, I guess, is that Alabama quarterbacks have never had much success in the NFL. It's just the style of offense and the style of team that Nick Saban runs, and the fact that the team is always so good. It's not just the quarterback that's carrying them. You never hear of quarterbacks from Alabama, lighting up the stat sheets in the NFL or, making...
They're traditionally backups in the NFL.
Right, yeah, they're traditionally career backups. And so, I mean, while I'm sure there's people out there that think Tua is going to be different, I don't see how he is going to be any different. He's just a college-oriented quarterback, and I don't think he's going to be able to adapt his game to the NFL as well as someone like Burrow or possibly Herbert. Jake Fromm, I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap. I still think he's the worst out of this group like you do, but I think I think a little bit more highly of him than you do. I mean, I know he played bad in that South Carolina game. I watched a little bit of that, and that wasn't good, but I think he's got a lot of untapped potential that we haven't seen yet from him that could possibly, maybe come out in a bigger stage. Maybe if Georgia makes the college football playoff, we can finally, really see how good he can be. But Burrow, watching Burrow last week against Alabama, I mean, he looked like a Heisman winning quarterback, and he looked like an NFL ready quarterback because he's not. There's so many of these college quarterbacks you see that play the style that Tua plays, where it's like, or maybe the style of play like Lamar Jackson plays. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's doing good this year, but I think Burrow can really be a good pocket passer, which is what a lot of NFL teams need. And I think Burrow, like you said, by far is the most NFL ready of any of these quarterbacks. And he did kind of come out of nowhere. The fact that this is his first year as a full-blown starter because he was sitting at Ohio State behind, I can't remember his name. What is it? J.K. Dobbins? Was he the quarterback in 2016? And then obviously he
lost to Haskins, yeah.
Yeah, then he lost to Haskins last year. But it was like in 2016, I think it was during the Bama game, they showed like his journey to the NFL. It was like or a journey to LSU. Like he started and he lost the job, and then he was supposed to be the starter in 2017, but then he broke his thumb or something and ended up, not playing the year. And then he lost the job to Haskins, so he transferred to LSU. So we'll see how that goes. And like I said, I can't objectively make a decision on Herbert because I have not watched much Oregon games. But, we'll see how he goes. We'll see how everything works out for him.
Yeah. I do think Herbert's going to be safe, though. I don't see Herbert as being a bust. Whereas I don't see him being the best QB from this class. I think he's going to be safe for whoever gets him.
I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of major expectations around him too. Some of these other quarterbacks like Tua, everybody's going to be expecting Tua to light up the stat sheet and possibly, like you said, tank for Tua. All these teams are going to be expecting a playoff run out of him. Whereas I don't think that's going to happen with Herbert. He's not going to have the hype around him that most of these other quarterbacks going into the league have. So I think that's going to help him a lot.
Yeah. Eric, any contributions to this, or are you good?
No, I'm good. All
right.
I mean, I would like to, but I don't watch enough college.
It's okay,
football.
man.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head pretty good with this.
All right, we'll move on to the next topic, and I'll let Connor take it away.
Yeah, so this is something that I have mentioned quite a few times in the past, but it's just the NFL, the contracts, especially for quarterbacks. I'm not just going to pick on quarterbacks here. I'm going to pick on other offensive players a little bit, but mainly for quarterbacks. It's like the contracts right now are out of control. I mean, we keep hearing it. Every new player that gets a contract is the next highest paid player in the league, the biggest contract ever given out. And at some point, you just can't sustain this level of I don't know how you want to say, but like, the contracts aren't going to be able to go any much higher. They can't go up forever. Eventually, you're either gonna run out of money, or it's just going to get completely ridiculous to where players aren't going to play for just average salaries. And so I wanted to touch on these three quarterbacks you see on this slide here: Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, Carson Wentz. They were three of the biggest mistakes, if you want to call it that, in my opinion, in terms of giving contracts to quarterbacks, because it all started back with Jimmy G, when he went to the 49ers, and everybody thought he was going to be the next big thing. And the 49ers wanted to make sure that they locked him up for a long time. So they came out with the 5-year, $150 million contract, was the biggest contract ever given out to a quarterback. And when my dad and I were discussing this when it came out, we were just thinking to ourselves, like, who in the 49ers, war room thought this was a good idea? At the time of giving out this contract, Jimmy G he had just come over to the 49ers. Yeah, he was, 7-0 at that point. He'd won 2 games with the Patriots and the 5 games with the 49ers. But it's like, how can you judge a quarterback based on 7 games, regardless of whether he won or lost? That's not really a good measure of how good of a player he's going to be just off of 7 games. And it's something that we see a lot with rookies, these rookies that have really big seasons, but now you go into year number 2, and now everybody has game film on you, everybody knows your tendencies, everybody knows your strengths, your weaknesses, and you tend to see a big drop-off in the second year because everybody's figured you out. Well, that hadn't quite kicked in yet for Jimmy G because he hadn't played very many games yet. And if you want any proof, you just look at this season right now. Yeah, the 49ers are 8-1, but none of that. I mean, I'll give a little bit of credit to Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's definitely not. Jimmy Garoppolo is definitely not the reason that they're 8-1 right now. It's been the defense and it's been the running game. Because if you go and look at the stats for the 49ers this year and the passing stats overall, Jimmy Garoppolo is near the bottom in terms of quarterbacks that have started every game. So, but it all had to start with him, and it all kind of erupted from there. Matthew Stafford got a big contract from the Lions. Derek Carr got a big contract from the Raiders, and then Matt Ryan got his contract from the Falcons. Which, out of those guys, and then I forgot to mention Kirk Cousins as well, with his contract from the Vikings, getting paid $80 million a year. And if you look at that group of quarterbacks, I mean, if you exclude Matt Ryan, you look at Stafford, you look at Carr, Cousins, and Garoppolo, there are 0 playoff wins in those 4 quarterbacks. And those 4 quarterbacks before Ryan got his contract were the 4 highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Now, I can forgive Stafford's contract a little bit because Stafford has been the franchise quarterback for Detroit for a long time. Like, he's their guy. He's not going anywhere. But kind of the same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, where did Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins put up the numbers or the wins to deserve that kind of money? And then it just kept evolving from there. Matt Ryan got his deal. Then Aaron Rodgers got his deal and became the highest paid quarterback. Then Ben Roethlisberger restructured his contract to become the highest paid quarterback. And now you look at Carson Wentz and Jared Goff getting their deals. And remember, we talked to, if you guys remember back to our NFL preview, talking back to the beginning of the season, how both Nate and Zach picked Carson Wentz as their MVP pick. And Carson Wentz is certainly not looking like an MVP right now. I mean, he's been doing okay, but, he's not worth the $39 million or whatever it was that they gave him and guaranteed money. And then also his contract right now. So, and then if you look at Jared Goff, he's been on the decline. I mean, he set the record for the largest amount of guaranteed money in a contract. And look at where the Rams are right now. They're a distant 3rd place in the NFC West, and they just lost to the Steelers, who, I don't think anybody saw that coming. I saw it coming because I'm a Steelers fan, but I'll take credit for that. But it's like, all these and now the final piece of the puzzle here is now Dak Prescott, where he's been talking about, I want to get this money because in all likelihood, I don't think Dak Prescott's going to be in Dallas next year now, because if he wants this contract, Dallas doesn't have the money to pay him that anymore, because they gave Ezekiel Elliott the big contract, which I will say is completely justified because Zeke has been arguably the best running back in the league for the past, 3 or 4 seasons. But now they don't have the $30 million that Dak Prescott wants, and where is he going to go? Is some other team going to throw $30 million a year his way and, waste money on a quarterback who's not proven, who doesn't have, does Dak Prescott have any playoff wins? I can't remember. I don't think so.
He's got one.
That's right. They won that game last year.
Yeah.
That's right. And so it's not like you're giving a $30 million contract to Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or Ben Roethlisberger. And that's another thing I wanted to touch on with the quarterbacks, is that I have to put the spotlight on Tom Brady here, because if there's one thing that I will compliment Tom Brady on, is that he is very smart when it comes to his contract. Tom Brady is not even close to the highest paid quarterback in the league. I mean, I think the only quarterbacks that he's making more money than are like Ryan Fitzpatrick and Patrick Mahomes, who's still on his rookie deal, like a bunch of rookies basically. But like every other quarterback who's gotten Sam Darnold's making more money than Tom Brady is right now. But in a way that's very smart. Tom Brady recognizes that, okay, I don't need a big $30 million contract. I've already got money. What we should be doing is we should be putting this money into the rest of the team and building up a team, because football is not a one-man sport. In basketball, you can get away with having one superstar and having them carry your team to victory. If you just look at LeBron James and the Cavaliers for quite a few seasons. But in football, just because you have a superstar quarterback does not mean, it certainly helps a lot, but it doesn't mean that you're going to go to the Super Bowl. And the Patriots have been able to do that. They've been able to focus on putting money into getting other players to fill those positions because Tom Brady's not taking up $30 million of their salary cap. Whereas you look at teams now like, the Vikings and the Falcons, who are struggling, and now they have less money to go put in to shore up, like for the Falcons, their defense. They don't have money to go out and find a superstar defensive free agent because they've already given all that money to Matt Ryan. And same with the Lions. They don't have any money to give to maybe the defense, or maybe finding another receiver to go with Matthew Stafford, because Matthew Stafford's taking $30 million. So the NFL contracts need to start. I will say, if I have to give my opinion on what the NFL owners, I'm going to give you some advice here on what you should do with your contracts. The NFL needs more performance-based contracts, because if there's one thing we've seen in the past 5-6 years, is not only are players getting big contracts, but they're getting huge chunks of guaranteed money, and very little of that contract is performance-based. So even though it's like, if you suck, like Jared Goff's deal, his total deal was $36 million. $31 million of that was guaranteed. So even if Jared Goff has, the worst season imaginable, or even if Jared Goff gets injured, he's still making $31 million in guaranteed money. Nothing to do with performance based. He could have the worst season imaginable, and he's still getting $31 million. And the players are taking advantage of that. They know that the NFL owners are caving in and honestly being weak on these issues and giving into the player demands and not standing up for the team and thinking about the team first. And it's going to lead to a lot of teams failing in the future, because they're giving so much money to one player and they don't give it to everybody else. I feel like I repeated myself there, but
it's okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I had to say about the contracts. I don't know what you guys have been thinking about the contracts and how everybody's been like the next player is always the next highest paid player.
Yeah. Eric, do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I am definitely in agreement with Connor here. I mean, these contracts are obviously starting to get out of hand a little bit. I do personally think the contract situation is worse in basketball than it is in football.
True.
But yeah, I mean, look at Harrison Barnes. Okay, but anyway, but back to this topic specifically, I definitely am in agreement with Connor. Although the only thing I will say is that it is really hard in the NFL to find a good quarterback. Like, unless you're a team that's able to, have just like a really bad year and get that obvious number one overall pick or something, where you're going to get a great quarterback. It's really difficult to find a good quarterback. And so what happens with these teams is, even when they get an average or maybe slightly above average QB, they feel like in their minds as if they need to lock them up long term, because we'd rather have an average to above average quarterback than risk losing him, and then the person we end up replacing them with ends up being worse. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is kind of what happened with Jacksonville when they gave Blake Bortles an extension. He had just gotten, I mean, it wasn't all on him, obviously. We know he's not a great quarterback, but, he had just gotten the Jaguars to the AFC Championship game, almost even got into the Super Bowl. He'd had a pretty good year that year.
Miles Jack wasn't down.
Yeah, Miles Jack was not down. Yeah, I'll still never forget that. But at the same time, going back to what I was saying, I think the Jaguars felt in the right mind. We know Blake Bortles is not the best quarterback, but if we let him go, we're stuck with, I want to say Chad Henne was still the backup at that point.
Yeah, he was.
So
but his contract was up too. So
because obviously they didn't want to bring him back, and then did they? In their minds, I think it was, do we risk starting over with another rookie, or do we keep the guy that we know we got to the AFC Championship with? And they didn't give him like a monster contract or anything, but still, I didn't like the way they structured it. But
wasn't it like 2 years, $20 million or something a year?
It was like 3 years, something like that. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. But that's what happens to these teams. So, these guys like Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo, like, these guys, yeah, they're not necessarily amazing quarterbacks, but like, if you're the Rams, you spent the number one overall pick on this guy. They don't want to let him go, and because then that looks like as if they made a bad investment on their part. Jimmy G, the 49ers traded for him. You don't want to send draft picks to another team and then not even keep the guy that you brought in. So then what they do is they like, well, we know these guys want a lot of money, and so they feel like they have no other choice. And then that's why they get into this situation. And so it's not that I think they should be doing this. It's just in their minds, it's what they feel like they have to do. And obviously a lot of the times it doesn't work out. I mean, Jared Goff has not been having a good season. Jimmy G, stat wise, is not having a great year. A lot of these quarterbacks that are like in the top 5 to 10 highest paid QBs are really underperforming for sure. But I guess my biggest takeaway about Connor's topic is I'm 100% in agreement that it would be better if NFL GMs and owners could start finding a way to get these players to accept a more incentive-based contract. The problem is it's almost like they've dug the hole so deep now.
It's impossible
like,
to climb out.
Get out, because if you're like Dak Prescott, for example, and say Jerry Jones says, all right, we'll give you that $40 million a year you want, but only a small amount of it's guaranteed. And then if you go out and put up these numbers or get these many wins, then you get the full $40 million. He can say like, well, screw that. There's 31 other teams out there. At least a few of them will give me the guaranteed money that I want. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know how they go about doing that, but that's really something these owners need to look into, because these quarterbacks are costing these teams a lot of money, and when they underperform, it doesn't just hurt the quarterback, it hurts the whole team, like Connor said. So, Zach, I don't know what else you have to add or what you think about it, but
yeah, I'll add some thoughts.
Yeah, for sure.
So to me, I don't view it as much as a problem as I view it as more of incompetence as a general manager to give out a big I mean, you think of, and then another thing too, just to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, like if you pay, let's say Carson Wentz here, you give him a huge contract. I was surprised by that more than I think any of these because of his injury concerns, but uh, you pay him a bunch of money and everything, but still, if you think about it, like I know Nick Foles did the playoff run, but he did the regular season run for their Super Bowl run that they had, and he was on a rookie contract. So you're basically getting away with it with him as your rookie on a rookie contract, and then you overpay for him now. So it's like, yeah, you're eating all that cost now, but you still got like a great deal from him those first couple of years. And another thing too, like about Dak Prescott, Eric, you basically said what I was going to say about him. Like, if Dallas, every day they wait, they pay $1 more for him because, especially with the season he's having, he's not like regressing. Like, whereas if Goff hadn't signed that contract, I think he wouldn't have gotten as much as he got in the offseason. But Dak, on the other hand, is playing towards a big contract. So yeah, absolutely, he's going to be the highest paid quarterback if he goes to free agency. There's no question about that. But it's like all positions too. You overpay in free agency. The teams that win are the teams that draft well, and you maximize talent from your young draft picks, and then you overpay and are never going to get the value that you overpay for the players in free agency. They're just to take you over the top. It's very rare that you pay for a free agent, a superstar free agent, and get that value out of them from their contract. That's not how teams win. But it is fascinating. I think the running back market is actually going to kind of correct itself or go back down because with the Zeke deal, with the David Johnson deal, with the Gurley deal, all of those players after getting their big deals haven't played as well. So
I mean, Zeke has still played fairly well, but
I don't
definitely
think
Gurley
Zeke's
and
played
Johnson.
well. Yeah.
Definitely Gurley and Johnson.
Yeah, and Le'Veon Bell too is another one.
Bell,
Yep.
yeah. So the thing is after a while, like they're gonna start using that against other players. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But yeah, I don't really see it as a problem for the league. I just think it's more of like a team by team issue. Like you got to be wise with your money, and you still got to have your principles. So I don't think it's a league wide issue. I think it's more of a team issue. And as far as like the Brady pay cut thing, I think Brady's the only quarterback that can take a pay cut because he can trust Belichick to build a team around him. I think any other quarterback taking a pay cut, they risk incompetence. You know what I mean?
Well, I didn't mention this either, but Drew Brees actually is one of the lowest paid quarterbacks in the league too, because I get Sean Payton's good too, but I mean, it's like some of him. If you look at the Saints and Patriots, they're two of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I think it'd be pretty risky for a player to take less money if they don't have a guy that's like a Bill Belichick or someone like that. But yeah, this is a fascinating subject to talk about. There's a lot you can go on and on about this situation going on. But we'll move on now. Eric, I'll let you get started about your topic.
Yeah, man. So I'll try to not take too much time talking about this.
You got about 20 minutes.
Yeah. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see on the screen I've got a clip I'm going to analyze here from the Los Angeles Lakers and Chicago Bulls game a few days ago. There was a lot of hoopla going on about this game because it was LeBron's third triple-double in a row, and people were saying, I can't remember like the last time a Laker player had done that or something, and it was a big deal. But as a Thunder fan who watched Russell Westbrook play for several years, I wanted to bring this up and talk about it because he's averaged a triple-double for like 2 years in a row or something like that. It was like an insane thing. And so, of course, like all you hear like all over like Sports Center and like national talk shows, you hear and all over social media, you hear people all the time, oh, triple double, oh, this guy got a triple double, like this guy dominated with a triple double, like Russell Westbrook's averaging a triple double, it's amazing. And I just the reason why I wanted to bring up this topic is because I kind of want people to calm down a little bit on the triple double thing. I feel like for the most part that triple doubles are very overrated, and especially with the rebounds. And that's what I wanted to talk about in this part of my contribution to this topics episode. So I'm just going to let Zach play this because I don't know exactly like when. I know there'll be parts where it pauses and stuff. Before he starts playing it too, I want to give a shout out to Bruce Blitz from blitzsportsnetwork.com. I've been a member of his website for a few years now, and he does a lot of amazing NFL and NBA breakdown, and he'll put the footage up from the game and break it down. So I've got this footage from this game off of his website. So I wanted to give him a shout out and a credit for that. That's where I'm getting this material from. I did not make this myself or anything. So basically what I want to talk about before Zach starts playing this is, so this was the LeBron triple-double game. And I want to point out what I feel like is overall just, not that rebounds are insignificant, because obviously you need to get rebounds more than the other team. But a lot of these triple doubles these guys get, okay, I'll let you pause it real quick, Zach. So that's LeBron's first rebound from this game. And as you can see, there's like no one around him. This is an uncontested rebound. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because a lot of guys that get these triple doubles, and Russell Westbrook was especially known for this. While this video is about LeBron, I'm not necessarily wanting to like just call out LeBron specifically, but this is footage that I was able to obtain, so that's why I want to show this. But you see this happen a lot with these guys getting these triple doubles, so that's why I wanted to show this. So this was LeBron's first one right here. You see there's not really anybody around him. Easy grab. Anthony Davis could have got the rebound. Any other Laker player like McGee could have probably got it. But so that's the first one. And you'll notice when Bruce is analyzing this, he moves around a lot. LeBron stands in the low paint a lot for most of these rebounds, and a lot of players do this. They'll kind of just, when their man doesn't have the ball, they kind of just chill down there and wait for these rebounds. So we're just, did you pause it, Zach, or is it still going?
No, it's still running.
Yeah, because so look, I mean, this one right here, you'll see the ball is heading towards the out of bounds line, and LeBron just kind of jogs over there and grabs it. This is another rebound where it really wasn't significant, because if it goes out of bounds, it's still the Lakers' ball. There's no Bull player like contesting him, trying to grab it from him or anything like that. So just another instance of it being insignificant. So once again, you'll see he's over there on the low block. He's not even near his man. And so this guy, he's paused it here. So that's part of the problem too, is since I'm not able to do this myself, but I mean, look at that rebound. I mean, do you see any Bulls player within 5 feet of him? I mean, real tough work to get this rebound here. I mean, man, I don't know. I'm glad I wasn't on the court, because I don't think I could have got that. So so that's his third rebound. So he shows that one a few times in his analysis there, talking about, I'm sure he probably said similar things to what I was saying. So hopefully he moves on to the next one here pretty soon. I'm not sure why he spent so much time on this rebound, but But so, yeah, as you can see, after the 3 rebounds he's shown so far, none of these were contested. Here he is in the low block again. Not really near his guy. Now, this one I'm going to give him credit for, though, at least, because this is one where he does challenge and contest, and he did try to get some defense there. But again, like, there were 3 other, if you saw in that rebound, you'll see that the Bulls guy was heading out of bounds from his momentum. There's 3 other Laker guys in the area. Anybody could have grabbed that rebound. So this was another non-contest, but I will give him credit for the defense there for coming over and helping. But at the same time, the rebound was not contested at all. So that's his 4th one. And while I'm waiting for the next rebound, another thing I guess I wanted to bring up too is I really wish that there was a stat in basketball. I mean, I know they have offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. If you'll just pause it real quick, Zach, here before.
Okay.
I just want to finish this point real quick. I don't want to miss the rebound here, but I really wish they also, in addition to the offensive and defensive rebound stats, I know this would have to be like a judgmental stat, but I wish they had a stat for contested rebounds versus uncontested rebounds, because I think if people really knew like what some of these players have to go through for some of these rebounds, whereas other times they're really easy rebounds, I think it would help people make different judgments about, some of these triple doubles. Because I know another thing that Bruce pointed out about this game too was that none of LeBron's rebounds in this game were offensive rebounds, which generally offensive rebounds are more valuable than defensive rebounds because you're giving your team a second chance at scoring the ball, so it's more valuable than a defensive rebound. But I'll let you go ahead and keep playing it here. So this is going to be the 5th rebound. And again, he's kind of down there in the low block. He's got, Lauri Markkanen in the corner there, which with where the ball is at right now, he's not a threat at all. So let this play out. I mean, that one there was like one Bulls player in the vicinity there. He had a little bit of a contest there.
He backed off because he knew he wasn't getting up.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, he wasn't really challenged on this. But I mean, out of the 5 so far, I mean, I guess if you could say any of them were remotely contested, like maybe this one. And then he does give a good outlet pass on the fast break there, so I give him credit for that. So again, this one low block, his guy's nowhere near him that he's guarding, and so that one he got off a block. I mean, so. Again, like there was no one around him. If I was camping out there where he was camping out, I could have grabbed that. Not much skill in that rebound there. I mean, he had to work really hard for that one. You know what I mean? So that was his 6th one, I believe.
That Bulls player should have passed it out to either of those guys out on the corner.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, he should. That was a bad shot by the. That was a bad shot by the Bulls player, and then it looks like there's bad transition defense by the Bulls there because Laker player got way ahead there. Okay, I'm pretty sure this one comes off a free throw. I mean, these are definitely these are rebounds the defense should be getting. Not sure why he kept pausing this one. Yeah, so this is another. I mean, he did have to technically box out the Bulls guy, but I mean, Kuzma could have grabbed that rebound too there. He actually kind of put his hands out, but LeBron grabbed it and he had to like pull his hands back. It was almost like as if LeBron's like, I'm getting this rebound. But, again, very minimal effort had to be given to get that rebound. So that was number 7. So now we'll go to his 8th one. There he is in the low block again.
You see it from that mouse.
Yeah. Bruce really likes to highlight that. So he's going crazy with it right now. You can tell he's probably gotten more upset as he goes farther along with his analysis here. But so he paused it again on the shot. Not very good form by Zach LaVine there on that 3. That one, I mean, I'm gonna let it play out again. I mean, that one, there's some action going on there. So that one was a little more contested. So that one I'll give him credit for. Okay, so that was the 8th rebound. Now we're gonna move on to the next one here. I don't know why he rewound that.
I don't know why either.
I guess maybe he's pointing out his running form. He does look kind of goofy there. I don't know. I want to say this is one where he another one where he kind of steals it from his teammate a little bit because he was kind of coming up from the backside here. But I'll let it play out and make sure.
Hopefully he actually lets it play.
Oh my God, Bruce, just let it play out, man. Just let it play out. You're killing me here. Taking out my time. No, I love you, Bruce. But look at that. Okay, so again, if LeBron James wasn't there, do you think a Laker player still would have come up with that? Absolutely. So, not really, no challenge from any Bulls player. So again, he did not have to give any effort on that one. So, so that's his 9th rebound. So while we're waiting on him to get to the next one, I mean, this is 9 rebounds we've seen, and only maybe 2 where he had to really, truly give an effort to grab the rebound. So I'm just gonna kind of wait for the next one here. It looks like, but LeBron's not in the low block on this one. He came up and challenged the player getting the pass. Did he rewind it here? I'm not sure. Okay. He rewinded a little bit. So just kind of waiting on him to. Come on, Bruce, play it out, man. Play it out.
I wish there was a skip feature on this,
but I guess I know there's not enough. I don't know if you can skip 10 seconds or.
No, you can't do that.
Okay, this is the one where he steals. That's the one where he stole it from a teammate there. I mean, you see even the teammate falls down because LeBron ran into him there. But while he did give an effort to go up there and get the ball, there were plenty of Lakers players around that could have grabbed this rebound. No Bulls player was in the vicinity. No, yeah, poor Quinn Cook, man. You left the Warriors, and now you have that happen to you. But I mean, that's an instance. So that was his 10th rebound. So I guess that was where it stopped because he cut the analysis off. So you can cut the video off. But that's kind of my point with this. And like I said too before, LeBron's not the only person that gets easy rebounds like this. So I don't want people to think oh, I'm calling out LeBron. It's not just him. There's a lot of people that, they'll especially do this too, later in games. Okay, I've got 20 points. I've got 8 rebounds. I really need to get those last 2 rebounds. And they'll kind of camp around and try to hopefully grab them. And Russell Westbrook was especially known for this too. When I watched him play for the Thunder a lot, I mean, I remember I was watching a Magic game one time a couple years ago. Zach and I we weren't together, but we were both watching the game and talking about it. And I think we determined that Russell Westbrook got 3 of his rebounds from camping out by the free throw line. And then his big men were boxing out, and then he would just swoop in and grab the rebounds. I mean, the concept of a triple-double is definitely overrated, in my opinion. I do feel like people need to calm down a little bit on it. I hope after showing that film that people will feel the same way. I mean, obviously, points and assists and rebounds, I mean, obviously, they're all important, but I feel like when people I feel like a lot of people don't even watch the games. I think they just see the stat line at the end and they're like, oh my God, this guy got 29 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds. I mean, he was really cleaning the glass. If you saw from that game, that isn't always the case. So, and I could go into too, with assists, there's some stuff where I feel these players get a lot of really easy assists on their triple doubles, and the assist numbers are skewed, and the points numbers, depending on how well the player plays in the game, can also be skewed because you can have 25 points all you want, but if you got it on 6 of 19 shooting, then you really hurt the team more than you did good. Now, that's not always the case, too, with these triple-doubles. Sometimes people have great shooting nights on them. Sometimes they don't. So I didn't really want to argue that either. But my main thing was the rebounds, and I feel like people need to calm down a little bit. Now that you saw that film, and I know you guys have seen a little bit of, the basketball so far this season, like, do you guys have any other takeaways? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? What do you think?
I'll go first on this. To me, when I was watching that video, I didn't really see anything new. I mean, I feel like those rebounds and stuff have like always persisted in basketball. Like, I mean, there's always going to be times where the ball bounces to a wide open player and it's like no option but to grab it. Like, you don't want the ball to just bounce out of bounds and slow the game down. Like, you just want to get it and go. And then to kind of defend Westbrook and LeBron and some of the other guys that get these big rebound totals, I mean, there's probably some instances where Westbrook was like trying to get the average triple double, so like he needed like one rebound to get that stat, but like for the most part, I think it's more of a team decision on those because it's going to be easier for your offense if your ball handler is able to get the rebound, whereas a big man to get it, to pass it to the ball handler slows the game down for your offense, and you have less of a chance to get a fast break or something. And you saw one of those times LeBron had that full court pass to somebody to get an assist and points. So I don't know if it's necessarily stat padding as it is you're just trying to have a faster pace. And it is unfortunate that these are counted in the stats because the stats of just a pure rebound stat doesn't take into consideration contested versus non-contested. So yeah, you got to be careful when you're looking at the stats, but I just don't think it's all stat padding, and I don't think this is anything new. It's just, and about the triple doubles too, to me, I think you should have to get 20 points for it to be a triple double because 10 points does not equal 10 assists when you think about the each assist is worth 2 points, so, or potentially 3 points. So I think triple doubles you should have to get 20 points minimum, but those are my main things about the triple double. But it is interesting because people are using it to boast about players.
Yeah, and before Connor goes, I just want to say too, I'm not necessarily fully saying stat padding. I mean, I definitely think some players do. I mean, like you said, especially, I mean, I mentioned it too, like, especially if they've got like 8 assists or 8 rebounds, they're really going to try to go, and there's like 5 minutes left in the game. They're really going to try to get those last couple that they need. But my point is more so, there's people all over social media that are like, wow.
Yeah, I agree with you there, yeah.
they grabbed 12 rebounds. That's amazing. What else can you do? Like, well, like, watch the game, and you'll see that, not all these rebounds are, where they're crashing against other guys in the paint or where they have to spend a lot of energy to get the rebound. You know what I mean? That's more so what I'm concerned about. Like, I get annoyed when I see people like, oh, well, LeBron's better than Jordan because he gets 9 rebounds a game and Jordan only got 5. I'm like, those rebounds are not as valuable as you think. Like, that's more so like,
he's also a lot taller than Jordan.
And then even, then of course, like, as a Thunder fan, it annoyed me too when people were, oh my God, Russell Westbrook, he's averaged a triple-double for 2 straight seasons. Well, how far did the Thunder get in the playoffs?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't necessarily equal champion. I want championships. Like, I would rather my Thunder get, a ring than Russell Westbrook average a triple-double in the playoffs. I don't, if it's leading to wins, then great. But if it's not, then we need to figure something else out. So that's more of my main concern is the people blowing up these rebound numbers like they're a huge deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the rebound numbers, aren't as impressive as they look, but I am gonna agree. I will say I don't think the triple doubles are quite as overrated as maybe you were saying, because like at the end of the day, in my opinion, like at least you're still, like you said on those excuse me, on those rebounds where it's like, a Laker player could have gotten that, like, why not at the end of the day, like LeBron James waiting for that rebound and he being the one getting it, like it's not hurting the team at all because they were going to get it anyway. So I agree the rebounds don't look good, but I think triple doubles, and I agree with Zach also that I think you should have to get 20 points because 10 points is incredibly easy for some of these superstars to get. So especially in games where you're scoring 115 points.
Yeah,
if you can't get 10 points, then you suck. Like, I mean, unless you're going out there getting like double-digit assists, rebounds, and like blocks or something, then you suck if you can't get 10 points. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of the points that both of y'all made. I mean, I don't have too much to add since I don't really watch the NBA that much, but. The rebounds to me are a bit overinflated, but I do think the triple doubles are still important. I don't think they're quite as overrated as you might be saying with the rebounds. Although I would be impressed to see someone who had a triple double getting 10 assists, 10 blocks, and 10 steals. Now that's impressive.
That would be the toughest to get.
So someone needs to do that.
Yeah. All right, guys. So this is the end of the episode. We'll be back in a couple days releasing our reaction videos to the weekend of sports, as always. Hope you guys take care and have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Peace.